My name is Sharad Mehra. I am the CEO of GUS Global Services. So if I go back the last 5 years, I think in our vocabulary, words like mental well-being or emotional intelligence or emotional well-being really did not exist. But then something dramatically changed in the last 5 years, and COVID happened, and suddenly what the business world realized that this is an important part of how we want to work with our team members and our colleagues, and therefore the awareness around it increased substantially. What also changed is the fact that in many cases the word mental well-being had a stigma around it, largely because of lack of awareness, and that also significantly changed. And what the business leaders and organizations all over the world realized, that this is such an important part of productivity, of the morale of the employees and the engagement at the workplace, that needs a much more significant action from their side to ensure that the employees are kind of feeling well taken care of, and mental well-being becomes a priority for the organization. The stigma around it still remains. Things have improved in the last few years. Also, I think that it is such a kind of a gray area for a lot of organization and people, that finding the right solution really becomes a challenge. Sometimes the perspective that the organizations may have, that it is not really their responsibility to focus on the mental well-being and finding a solution, that also becomes a challenge. Sometimes I feel that the employees themselves are a little confused on whether this is something that they are afflicted with, or that's a solution that they are looking for. So those challenges still remain. I think organization-wide, having the right kind of organization psychologists, the therapists who can deal with issues like that is a pressing problem in India, because we do not have the number of the therapists and psychologists that we will need to really solve the problem at a mass scale. I think the way forward is kind of again to do with the challenges, that first of all the stigma around it has to go, more awareness around it, and for the organizations to understand that it is the culture of the organization which is one thing which is going to be the most significant thing in improving the emotional well-being of the employees. And if you are able to create a culture with the right kind of managers, and I think the best psychological support to any employee is their line manager, the person with whom that they interact with on a daily basis. In fact, there was a Workforce Institute report which said that 69% of those interviewed, and there were nearly 3,400 people interviewed across 15 countries, said that the cause of the stress was the line manager. Can you imagine? And this was equivalent to their life partner. So, in some ways, since they spend a large part of their time with the line manager and also with other colleagues in the organization. So if that is the right kind of a culture created in that group, suddenly you realize that the emotional well-being is understood, taken care of, and it is improving everywhere. So I think this is one big positive change which has happened. Also, I think going ahead, I do feel organization taking more responsibility towards it. And if you look at the statistics here, the World Health Organization estimated that last year overall $1 trillion was lost by organizations all over because of challenges around emotional well-being. About 12 billion man days were lost. Now these are like really staggering number for anybody to see. So there is a need for us to take this a little more seriously. So I'm happy that organizations are moving ahead and seeing that their responsibility is not ending when the employee clocks out, but the emotional well-being is a 24/7 responsibility. So how they can make the work-life balance little more skewed in favor of the employees. GUS Global Services, which is a subsidiary of Global University Systems, is one of India's largest company in private higher education. We provide services to universities and institutions all across the country and outside India as well. For me, I believe that the emotional well-being has several other aspects than just the counseling and the therapy that we talk about. It's really creating an environment out there which has sports, which has culture, which has got different avenues for people to explore. So it's almost like when they come into the organization, It's not just a serious workplace. It's a fun place where they go to and where they get to explore so many other facets of themselves as well. So we have a fabulous cricket team that many of our employees are part of. We also indulge in a lot of musical sessions and jamming sessions, because that's a passion with a few people. And somewhere I believe that when that purpose and passion gets combined, that's where the true profitability and productivity is. Look, I believe that for us as an organization, the most important thing is that we create a belief in our employees that it is important to build their work around their life and not their life around work. And I think if we are able to push that culture out, we will be a happier place. What we make sure that this happiness is not only to our employees but to support staff as well, the gardeners, the housekeepers, and everybody else who works with us. And that is why we launched this amazing project called Project Happiness, where we really talked about the happiness quotient of our employees, talking to them about what makes them happy, what kind of events that we could be doing, what kind of forums that we can create, and what kind of self-help groups that could be there. And I'm really happy to see that it's a conversation which has started to happen between us, that how do we make it a delightful place to work, a happy place to work. And for me, if I get up in the morning and the first thing I want to do is to go back to my workplace, that means that there is something special which has been created. And that really is what our vision is.